Statistics from Pew Research, where they surveyed a global audience, found that work is cited as the most important meaning in life for many countries. Italy ranked first with 43% of respondents claiming that work is the most important meaning in their life. That's pretty high. I'm not gonna lie. That's almost half of the people saying that work is that important to them. South Korea was the lowest at 6%. For contrast, the United States came in at 17%. I think this survey is pretty good to showcase how big the difference is across cultures on how important work is. Maybe jobs in Italy, I'm not actually sure at all, but I'm assuming they could be culturally fit for the type of work that they have. Maybe it's more in terms of what somebody would actually enjoy doing, and maybe something that's done not so much out of money but out of love. Maybe it could be farm work or something that is more, I don't know, relaxed, I guess. I'm not too sure and the reason why I'm saying this is because Korea is very intense. Korean workforce is insane. Like, it's intense as heck. The suicide rates are up the roof. It's very similar to Japan. So seeing it at 6% doesn't surprise me. And then you have the US coming in at 17%. And of course, the US is known for a lot of its work culture. It's known for tech. It's known for creating businesses. It's known for stress. So coming in at 17% is still pretty low compared to Italy. But it's interesting to see how little of the people in the workforce here in the United States actually enjoy working, or maybe enjoy working that much. I would think maybe the 17% come from people who own their own business, who were able to retire due to their own business, who maybe own a ranch, something that they feel is very selfless maybe. And then people who maybe are on W-2 jobs probably didn't vote. That is the most important thing in their life. I know if I was to take this survey, I would not have picked it as one of the most important things in my life, not work at least. There's a lot of other things in life that to me have more meaning, but it's interesting to see that big gap. McKinsey and Company made a survey, and they showed that 82% of employees believe that company they work for should have a purpose that contributes to society and makes their work meaningful. So here we go. This ties in pretty well with the 17% from the last survey, because it's saying here that 82%, so 82% is essentially just 2 people out of 10 that didn't say this, but a lot of people, almost all of them, are saying that the work they have needs to contribute outside of what they do to something positively in society. And that's, to me, a good approach, and it's a good way to steer work. And because I'm not too sure this was followed back in the 1950s to the 1990s, maybe early 2000s, but now it does seem that people actively look for jobs that they feel make a good impact to society. And this stems a lot to some of my other videos where I spoke about the work culture and the code of ethics and sustainability practices that companies can enact. This is a good approach because if you enact a sustainability practice, it encourages 82% of employees to stay with your company because they feel that you're contributing positively to society. And the results are not that crazy if you really think about it. People want a meaningful work. And sometimes they want that meaning to be beyond salary. They want that meaning to help others, to do something that maybe they just don't have the time to actively partake in outside of work. If they feel that their work justifies and fills that gap of where they could be helping other people instead of having to volunteer, that could actually make somebody feel pretty good. The next one is by American Professionals, and it reveals that 90% of workers would take a pay cut if their work was more meaningful. This is especially true for Gen Z workers. 90% is pretty intense. That's a big chunk to say that they would take a pay cut for some more meaningful work. I also mentioned this in another video. These types of surveys for me are a little bit biased because imagine you're getting surveyed, right? And this question pops up. Would you take a pay cut for something more meaningful? I mean, it's very likely you're going to say yes. Like, oh yeah, I definitely want to feel better. Yeah, I'll screw the money. I'll take this. Yeah, I'll take a 25,000 pay cut. Yeah, I'll take this pay cut. If it makes me happy, yeah, I'll do it. It's easy to respond to that on a survey. It's a lot harder to move through with it. And I'll tell you what, 90% of these people could take a pay cut for something more meaningful if they were to apply to probably their local animal shelter or their local Bethany house or something like that. There's a lot of nonprofits that are hiring. So these surveys, to me, whenever I look at them, and again, I have a master's degree. I've actively participated. I've actively have to done research. I'm very involved in these types of surveys, and I'm saying this through experience and not just from me reading it and my assumptions. It's truth that it creates some sort of bias when you want to show yourself to be some type of person when you don't have to actually follow through with it. But aside from them actually wanting to or doing that, I think the key here isn't if they're going to act on it. It's the fact that they are saying they would and that they look for meaningful work. We're going to tie this all in together at the end of the video. But again, keep note here. What is the common phrase in the last 3 surveys? Meaning in the workforce. Same survey, 2/3 of US employees said COVID caused them to reflect their purpose in life. This is something that I actually can agree on because it's something I actually went through as well, where when I was stuck home during COVID, I started doing random things that I had never done before and I actually enjoyed. For example, I used to live in another house of mine and I was outside cutting grass, tending to my trees, watering the tree. I was doing some of the randomest things. I was cutting branches. I don't know, but it brought me happiness. It was something enjoyable to me. And it actually did reflect to me to the point that I actually created a YouTube channel back then, specifically for my dogs. It was a dog's YouTube channel, but it's very difficult to record animals. And once I got back to work and other stuff, it was too hard for me to try to find activities to do with my dogs, which is why I've kind of veered into something like this. And I mean, obviously I didn't have this type of setup, so it's been a big step since then. But COVID actually did for me help me reflect my life purposes. And I would assume here that the survey is trying to show that the people that this happened to are probably the ones that are saying that they want to get into a job that is more beneficial to society. The survey talks about how in the last 2 years we've had the Great Resignation, where if you don't know what that means, it's essentially just a lot of people quitting their jobs, and this is a lot of Gen Z and a few millennials, but it's essentially them quitting and just not being forced to stay in a job that they don't want to work at. It's essentially the point. If they are something that they don't really like, they're going to quit. A lot of them have the comfort of being at home with their parents, or job hopping to get another similar job in a culture that maybe fits what they want more. 30% of Americans say they only have a job to get them by. I mean, that's pretty low. I would think that's like 70%. So some 30% are saying that they only have a job because they need to. I would say we all have jobs because we need to. And a good chunk of us like what we do. Now, I don't know if it's because they need to financially or mentally or anything, but if it's either or, everybody needs a job to either stimulate themselves mentally or to have the ability to pay for things that they like. 20% are passionate about their job. That's very low. 20% are actually passionate about what they do. I would say this is probably some entrepreneurs and people who are doing nonprofits. 36% would give up $5,000 to be happier at work. Well, here we go. We put some actual currency to the test. I think 5,000 is believable depending on what salary range you're at. If you're at 115, yeah, you'd probably take a 5K pay cut to be happier. If you're at $30,000 a year, are you going to take a 5K pay cut to be happier? Because that pay cut is going to affect other areas of your life and you're not going to be as happy due to more stress, maybe miss bills, all this other stuff. But here again, it's not to take everything so literal. I'm kind of messing around here, but the point here is the message is that 36% of people would be willing to get paid less just to increase their happiness. 25% of employees who quit their jobs cite money as the main reason. I've seen this firsthand. Money is usually the number one reason on my end that I've seen through my years as why people quit their jobs. And it's essentially just a competition. You're going to have other jobs that pay more for similar things, but the management is going to be different. However, money is usually a very big factor. 83% of millennials say work-life balance is the most important factor. I fall in that spectrum. I say, yeah, work-life balance is important. It's probably for me the most important factor. Let me put it this way. If I didn't have a good work-life balance, this YouTube channel would have never been created. Work-life balance is not just, oh, I get to be home more often. Oh, I don't have to veer into work when I'm at home. It's also the ability to participate in activities that you enjoy doing, which reduces stress, which gets you prepared for the next day. It's actually being able to cook your meals at home. It's being able to take a walk. It's being able to exercise. All these things, they apply themselves very well into an increase in happiness at work indirectly. Yeah, so yeah, 83% put me in there. I am a huge believer of that. I strongly believe that you should have a good work-life balance. 62% of employees in managerial positions have high job satisfaction. This is actually interesting because it's saying that if you're in a managerial position, meaning you've already done the supervisor, you've already done the entry level, you're out of those higher turnover positions, your job satisfaction actually increases. Now, I would say it's probably due to the salary and also likely due to the job security, because you often hit a time of experience in your workforce that you're pretty comfortable job hopping, or at least being able to get recruited into other industries because of the experience you have. But it's interesting to say that it doesn't say happiness, it says job satisfaction, meaning you're happy with what you do. This could be because of the impact that you have on employees. At least for me, that's something that I absolutely love. You know, having people that report to me and tell me that I'm doing a good job as a manager, as a leader, and that they look up to me or whatever it is, those types of things actually push me forward. And I'll admit that is part of job satisfaction for me. It satisfies me to know that I'm doing a good part and that I'm actually impacting people positively. 26% of the respondents are motivated, but they're not happy. So this is very weird. So 26% are saying, hey man, I'm motivated. I come and work. I work hard. I put in my 110%, but I'm unhappy. I hate this. I think I would fall in that spectrum in certain areas. Maybe like when I was in the Marine Corps and when I had just got out the Marine Corps, I think that would kind of apply to me. You know, I was very motivated. I was getting my job done. I was working hard, but I wasn't necessarily happy. Maybe in the Marines, it was just because it was so much work. It was very strenuous, but the impact I feel was good. And then kind of getting out, it was kind of the opposite. The work was very relaxed compared to that, at least. And I felt like my impact was very minimal. So I was motivated. I was gung-ho. I would go to work. I would get the job done. I would do what I need to do, but I didn't really feel happy because I feel like the impact that I had in my job into society, it just wasn't there for me, for my personal beliefs. Employee Motivation and Commitment Index has 2,500 respondents a month, and they're asked various questions regarding their workplace experience. So some pretty good surveys with overarching themes. The theme of the video is going to be more about motivation. So we can see here, breaking down some of these surveys, that motivation definitely is a factor for how well employees perform, how happy they are at work, and how willing they are to kind of stay with the company. So let's look inward now with the survey and say, how do I or you personally feel about certain areas of what I do at work? Would you give up more money to be happy? Do you feel that your job is something that contributes positively to society? Do you feel that maybe you're not motivated? Do you feel that you are motivated, but you're not too happy? Do you feel that maybe the money is the only reason you're there? Think about these types of things. And when we think about motivation, what I like to do is think of the largest picture I can, right? So for some of us, it's going to be, not me because I don't have a child, but for some people, it would be your family is your biggest motivation. And then you can contribute the money to being able to purchase stuff for your family that maybe if you didn't have the job, you didn't. Maybe you don't have work-life balance, but you get paid well. Maybe you don't get paid well, but you have a good work-life balance. Finding motivation in these different areas is going to be very unique to every individual. And here's my advice to you. If the motivation that you seek does not align very well with the type of job that you have, it could be time to job hop. It could be time to look for some other opportunity, because you do want to have your motivation match the type of job that you work for. For example, if you are somebody that likes to work, like you enjoy working and you say, I like to work, it doesn't matter how many hours I put, it brings joy to me. You may be better off in a high stressful job than maybe something like, no offense, marketing. Or maybe you're very passive and you don't even like loudness. You're somebody who likes to be to themselves. Then you might not want to be in like transportation. You could probably move over to a department maybe similar to safety that's a little bit calmer. The goal here is to understand why your motivation is lacking at work and what you can do to really fix it. But this video isn't to go into that type of details. I have a video already that covers a lot of these things. The point of the video was to see this overarching theme of what other people are saying. So if you feel like you're lacking motivation, just remember, there's a lot of people based on these surveys that feel the exact same way, who are also just going day by day and who may be unhappy, unfortunately. So reflect on the purpose in your own life, just like these people during COVID did. Reflect on yourself. Reflect what the purpose of life is to you. Mold your beliefs around that. Try to almost rationalize how your job and your goal align. If they absolutely don't, hey, it doesn't hurt to try to apply to another job. You might get paid more. It might be a little bit different, but it's worth something. And actually try to find the positives in where you work. Don't be too negative and just not try to find anything positive. And that's it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.